So, are you a fan of horror movies? And if so, have you ever wondered, is character stupidity an essential part of the formula to make these movies work? That's what we're going to talk about today. Join us. This is the Geek Cabal channel. If you've not been here before, my name's Bobbie.
Levi.
And today we're going to talk about horror movies and whether or not character stupidity is a core element. And if so, can we actually do without it, perhaps? So, for those of you who have been here to the channel before, it's been a while since Levi's been in one of the videos. He's my nephew. And he is also a horror movie fan, so I asked him to be here. So, all of this was spawned. I've already told Levi this, but I'll fill you folks in. And I'm going to try to find this video and link to it down in the description because it's a decent video. There was a gentleman who has a couple videos about the 2004 remake of Dawn of the Dead. And I haven't watched his others, but his most recent one was boiled down to, what if the characters were actually smart? I think he was kind and used the phrase smarter, because they do make a fair number of smart decisions. But his overarching point was that if they would have been smarter, they would have made those decisions earlier, and there's a fair chance most of them would have survived. And he even kind of plotted out like how they would have done that. They would have skipped the island entirely, and a bunch of other things. So that kind of got me thinking. Number one, like, well, is he right? Number two, like, were there actually a lot of stupid decisions in that movie? Because I didn't really feel that when I watched it. But he pointed out some that were not optimal decisions. So, like, if you've seen the movie, when the characters first break into the mall, the characters that we meet through up to the point that they go to the mall, when they first break in, they should have all gathered up weapons and stuck together as a group to make sure the whole mall was secure, which would have avoided Luda getting bit, hopefully. And then whenever they run into the security team should ally with them, because that should make them instantly realize that the three of them cannot control the mall. So, yeah, those are early decisions that, were less than optimal, that kind of slowed things and led to them being there once the mall was completely surrounded. So, just little things like that. And again, it got me thinking, well, like, I know that certain types of horror movies are known for people just being stupid. And
a lot of slashers, too.
Yes, slashers are a big one. But I just want to make a clarification before we start talking here. I think there is a difference between characters being stupid and characters not understanding the situation they're in. And what do I mean by that? This is like in From Dusk Till Dawn. The movie starts off like a getaway movie, and it's not until like about a third of the way in that you realize, oh, wait a minute, this is a vampire movie. And so it takes about another third of the movie for the characters to kind of come together, and the main character to be like, well, it's clear what we're dealing with here are vampires. He's like, and I don't want to hear anyone say I don't believe in vampires, like, because I don't believe in vampires, but that's clearly what we're dealing with. So, like, some movies have that moment where the characters do acknowledge we're dealing with something well beyond our potential expertise, and don't, like, just continue to refute, oh no, clearly it's this other thing, okay? Now, I don't qualify that as stupid. That's just someone not accepting what they're faced with, because it's usually something that's just completely out of bounds of normal reality. Like, seriously, if you were confronted with an actual vampire situation, I think most people, your mind is not going to let you accept that you're dealing with something that you thought was fake, that you thought doesn't exist, that's the supernatural. Like, it's going to have to beat you over the head before you finally accept that, wow, this really is where I found myself. Okay, time to act accordingly. So, I don't put that in this category. Or like people that are in slasher movies but don't realize they're in a slasher movie. Because, again, are you really going to realize you're in one until the slasher is trying to kill you? Like, and so there's rules, so to speak. Similar to how Randy talks in Scream. But, yeah, so that's to my mind, that's different. So, anyway, Levi, what are your overall any thoughts on this?
Well, I want to know in the movie Get Out, the main character, forget his name.
I should tell you before you continue. I've not watched the movie. But keep going.
Oh,
I mean, go ahead and postulate your question here. Like maybe the folks will comment down the comments or something.
Okay, well, if you haven't seen it, it's basically about a black guy and his girlfriend meeting his girlfriend's parents, who turned out to be kind of racist.
I gathered from the trailer it's more than kind of, but keep going.
Well, as you think you know what's going on, but to the end you really don't. Figure out it's not really they're racist, it's more they actually want black bodies, and they want people who are black because they want to live inside their bodies because black is in fashion, black has muscles and are better with
like athletics,
like athletics, so to speak. Sort of what they say. So they take the white people and put them in black people so that they can live longer.
Really, that's
the
plot. Huh?
Yeah, that's the plot. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I thought it was the brainwashing plot. Okay.
So the guy goes to the house and he experiences this really creepy and weird things, like the gardener just running full speed towards him at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and just the weird maid doing weird stuff and smiling oddly, and like everyone that's black that's there is just acting very horribly, and there's so many signs that were telling him to get out, until it was too late. But Bobbie, do you think that those signs would be something you could be avoided, or those stupid mistakes, or would that be in your category or no?
Well, that kind of sounds like not fully understanding what situation you're in.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of like see the movie The Skeleton Key?
I have.
Okay.
The voodoo?
Yeah. So, spoilers, by the way, for a movie that I don't consider a good movie, but anyway.
I thought it was alright. I don't get the hate.
I considered it really bad, and I convinced someone else to watch it just so I could suffer together with someone else. They also thought it was bad, and don't take my advice on movies anymore, but it was totally worth it. So at the end of the movie, like, the character by that point has accepted that they're dealing with voodoo. But the problem is she doesn't understand it. Yeah. So she ends up fulfilling the spell that, like, does the body transfer, And so that's not a stupid move. That's a I don't understand what's going on move.
Yeah. It's desperate.
But no, like, okay, like as much as I love the Halloween movies. Now the first one, everyone in the movie gets a pass because no one has any idea what they're dealing with except for Dr. Loomis, and even then he's only got kind of an idea. The other people have no idea that there is a killer on the loose who's just murdering people. So they don't act stupid in that respect. They act like teenagers. And none of them like have any time where they could have reacted differently. Like, because the moment Michael finds them, they're dead. So, Jamie Lee Curtis is the only one that has any kind of lead time, and she does the smart thing and runs away. So, like, I can't fault him in that movie. And in the second movie, I'm hard-pressed to fault anyone, because it's literally the same night, and, like, most of the people are just caught unawares. Like, they don't realize that there is a psycho killer out there. Or they think that he's been killed because Dr. Loomis shot him, and then the police hit someone wearing the same costume, and the cop car blew up, and it's not until like 2/3 way in the movie they confirmed with dental records that it's not him. So in those two movies, I don't think anyone really does anything stupid. Now, there are characters that don't listen to Dr. Loomis. Like, towards the end, the sheriff's deputy, or the state cop, Loomis tells him, Michael's not dead. Don't go next to his body. And, like, the guy, Michael looks dead. He's a cop. Why is he going to listen to the psychiatrist when all his training says this guy's dead? But he's not, so then Michael stands up and kills him. So, like, I'd be hard-pressed to argue that he's stupid. Now, people in the movies after that, though, these are like, some of these people are almost like the people in Friday the 13th. Like, the first movie, I can kind of forgive them, okay? Like, okay, so some people were killed there once before, these things happen, just not build anything there for the rest of time. But by, like, the second movie, the third movie, the fourth movie, each time they keep trying to reopen the camp, and people warn them, hey, you know, there have been like 5 massacres here at this point. They never found the guy. His name's Jason. He's an unstoppable killing machine. Like, you know, at a certain point, you're like, these people deserve what's going to happen to them. I just feel bad for the campers that got suckered in. Like, but the people running the camp totally deserve what's going to happen to them because they're idiots. You know, and like, you just have that. You have that in the later Halloween movies, because like later on in the mythology within the movies, people know who Michael Myers is. Like, people across the country know who Michael Myers is because he killed all kinds of people in the first 2 movies. Mainly the second one. He only killed like 5 people in the first movie. But things escalate dramatically in the sequels. So they'll be like, hey, you know, like Michael Myers is on the loose, and you're like, oh, let's go to this Halloween party. It's like, I mean, on the one hand, safety in numbers, maybe. On the other hand, like, he killed a whole bunch of people in one building. In the second one, like, safety in numbers didn't help them. Like, well, I'm probably not going to help you. So, you know, I don't know what the solution is other than everyone should be armed and, like, move around in circles ready to shoot anything that moves. Like, that's it. That's your only possible defense. And I don't even know if that would work. So, but yeah, but those are slashers. So I kind of expect that, I guess.
To comment on the repetitiveness of the massacres, that reminds me of an American Horror Story season 1984, which is like an homage to 80s slashers. There was, I don't know, 1940s, 30s, it's when it first opened, and there was a big massacre there. Then it opened again in the 70s, early 70s, and another massacre happened then, and then they decided to open it one more time.
Third time's a charm.
In 1984, and that's where disaster strikes. And then they open it again, and then they ended up having like a concert there of like a bunch of English rock bands, and it's like, at what point are you gonna stop, you know, and actually take the signs? Because each time someone goes on that property of Camp Redwood, which is the camp, they're probably gonna die, turn into a ghost.
Yeah, and like, you see this in some zombie movies, but not all. I'd argue probably not many, but I'm sure there's a wide range where this does happen. Because like, in the original Night of the Living Dead, the characters they're shocked. They have no idea what's happening. They have to finally come to terms with the fact that the dead aren't staying down and want to eat the living. And that is one hell of a revelation. Like, I'm pretty sure that would cause some shock and some panic. And one of the characters in the black and white version, the original, literally sits on the couch comatose through most of the movie. And once the zombies break in, her zombie brother's with them and goes to him, and presumably he has a nice snack. So, but like, while that's happening, while they're surrounded by zombies, you have at least the one character that just refuses to accept what's happening. Okay, and like, again, I don't qualify that under stupid, you know, although after a certain point...
Denial.
Is denial. After a certain point, yeah, it kind of starts to become, you're just being stupid and not accepting reality. But he also decided to have a fight over who's going to be in charge. And so it was like the guy that wanted to be in charge in the basement, the guy that wanted to be in charge up top. And it was just a petty squabble. Now, that's also part of the point of the movie is that the zombies aren't the real threat. The zombies are dumb. The real threat is the other people, because they're unpredictable. They have biases. They are intelligent enough. And so, you know, and you see this more in the color remake from the 90s, because there it becomes more explicit. There, it really is about the one guy wants to get everyone down to the basement, stay down there. He thinks that's the safest place. And initially, some of the people don't. Hang on, I'll tell you the irony of all that in a minute. Initially, a couple of people don't accept that these are corpses that are walking, because one's like, "Oh, that's so and so." And in the color remake, Barbara's not a stump on a log. She like snaps out of it and becomes a lot more aggressive. And she's like, "Really? You think that's so and so?" She's like, "Watch this," and shoots him like 3 or 4 times in the chest. She's like, "Living people can't survive that. He's still coming." And then puts one in his denim and drops him. And she's like, "They're dead. They're all dead, and they want to eat us. Like, you need to accept things so that we can all try to survive this."
Or they're just, you know, having a Halloween party early.
Yeah. So the guy that wants to get everyone downstairs, part of that is because his daughter has been bit. He's trying to keep her safe. He doesn't want leave the door open to let more of those things in. You know, that's why he wants everyone down there, because he doesn't want anyone upstairs that's still alive to try to get downstairs if he shuts the door, because he knows they can probably get through it, whereas the zombies can't. So the irony being, at the end of the movie, that's I can never remember his name. Him and the black guy actually end up having a shootout as the zombies are pouring in everywhere, because his daughter turned, killed his wife, came upstairs, and he refuses to shoot her. Now, in zombie movies, this is the end of the movie, so at this point I do qualify it as stupidity, because he has seen what else has happened. He knows that is not his daughter anymore. I can understand him not being able to shoot her. Cooper, that's his name. I can understand him not being able to shoot her, but whenever Ben shoots her, then he shoots Ben. And, like, zombies are coming in everywhere, so Ben shoots him back. He then goes upstairs, Cooper, the white guy, and Ben tells Barbara to get out through the one door that they aren't pouring through yet. And so she makes a run for it, and she's like, I'll come back. Cooper goes upstairs, and it turns out all this time there was an attic that had drop stairs that they could have all gone into and pulled the stairs up. And Ben has to go down to the basement, which he absolutely refused to do earlier in the movie. So now he's stuck down there and boards it up. The zombies never get into the basement.
Really?
The door would have held. He goes down there, the wife's turned, he shoots her, and he's sitting there, he lights a cigarette. And earlier in the movie, they've been looking for keys to the gas pumps, and he looks over on the wall, and there's a key with the thing that says gas on it. And that caused a couple of the characters to die, not having that earlier. So he just throws the cigarette out and just laughs his ass off. And then Barbara comes across some guys just roaming the countryside shooting zombies, and she hooks up with them. They come back to the house the next day. They chainsaw through the door, and Ben, he died, so he's turned. So he comes out, and so they shoot him. Then Cooper comes down the stairs and grabs her from behind. He's like, you made it, you came back, and she just blows him away. And the guys are just going, damn. Don't screw with her, I guess. So yeah.
As if the woman scorned.
Yeah. So again, the irony is that Ben was trapped downstairs where he didn't want to be, and the door ultimately held. Cooper didn't want to be upstairs, and the upstairs worked out. And if they just would have worked together, they possibly would have found the gas key. They possibly would have found the upstairs. You know, there's all kinds of possibilities where they could have survived. Or if they just would have listened to Barbara, this is in the Color remake specifically, because Barbara makes the observation like, why don't we just walk past them? They can't run. They're so slow. We can just, like, we won't have to jog. We will go faster than them. Let's leave before we're just surrounded. And ultimately that's what she did. She just walked out of there.
Yeah.
And survived.
Sometimes the smartest thing to do is just walk away.
Yeah. So you see that in zombie movies. Now, in both versions of the Dawn of the Dead, I don't really know where the characters really screwed up. I've been racking my brain over this. Because, like, in the first one, the only thing might be they stayed there too long. And again, I guess that's the problem with the remake too. But the first one, it's because it's a comment on greed. Because the people, they find the mall, it's got all the stuff. Why leave it? Why not stay here with the stuff? Even though most of the stuff's worthless now in the apocalypse, but it's stuff and it matters. And you even see this whenever the biker gang shows up at the end of the movie and breaks into the mall. Like, they're trying to grab, like, TVs and stuff. And even one of the bikers is like, what are you doing, man? There ain't nothing on. Because the station's already gone off. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. And they're grabbing, like, jewelry and stuff. And, like, whenever these people show up, they robbed the bank that was in the mall. What are they going to do with money? Money's worthless. There's no economy anymore. But that's what they were obsessed over. But that's also part of the message of the movie, so it's kind of hard to say they were stupid for doing it when that was, like, the message. But, yeah, no, the bikers were stupid, though. They did something very stupid. Instead of trying to selectively open a single door and try to get in, they just opened one door and left it wide open. And the zombies just poured in. And now, once the two guys inside started shooting back, then they had to focus on not being shot, which enabled the zombies to start eating them. So, yeah.
Another kind of sort of zombie movie, what's it? Pet Sematary. It was a dark one.
We're talking the original or the remake? Or the sequel to the original?
The original.
Okay.
Never realized they made a remake.
Yeah, it came out a couple years ago.
Was it good?
But I didn't watch it. That's why I was curious.
Well, when you're really talking about the guy who didn't want to shoot his daughter, but did he? Did you say he did or no?
No, he didn't. Ben did.
Well, a kind of similar thing happens in Pet Sematary where the guy...
Yeah, remind me, I'll tell you, the original actually has a much darker ending. The original version has a darker ending.
The guy has the baby, his baby, there, who's basically a zombie, 10 times as strong as a normal baby should be, and very violent, out to kill, and he ultimately made the right decision in killing the baby, and saving, but, so, that was, in that case, I think, a smart decision.
Yeah, however, that movie has, in my mind, 2 very dumb decisions. Well, 3, I guess.
Bring back his wife, bring back the baby, bring back the cat.
Yeah, well, the cat, not so much. Although that was probably also a dumb idea. No, the first, the singular dumb idea that kicks it all off is the old man. The cemetery over there. I'll take you to it. Like, why would you show anyone that?
Exactly.
Like, if you know it brings things back to life, like, you know that's probably not a good thing. Like all things being equal, things that resurrect people, on the whole, at least in fiction, tend to not turn out well. Now, occasionally it works, but is it worth that risk? No, it's not. And so then, like, he tries it on the cat clearly is wrong, and then his kid gets hit, and we know what he's going to do, you know? And even after that, oh, I'll take my wife up there. That ended up being the fatal mistake. But yeah, like, that whole thing is just driven by, like, that old man should just, like, taken that to his grave, which should hopefully not be up there. You know, like, you just don't tell people things like that.
Especially when you know the darkness surrounding it.
Yeah.
And the potential it could, lead to.
Yeah, because when he wasn't he the one who was like, oh, the ground turned sour. like my impression there. But yeah, and that was the guy that played Herman Munster on the Munsters. He was also the judge in My Cousin Vinny.
Really? Oh yeah. That's a great movie.
Yeah, talking about Utes. But yeah, that's one of those movies where it's just like, this is just like, this all started with stupidity and ends with stupidity.
But it also has very intense themes of grief, though, and when people are grieving, they do desperate things.
Yeah, see, now me, I would have taken the story in an entirely different way. Like, if I were going to adapt this like Dungeons & Dragons, because I think it's a kernel of a good idea here. Have it so that once one of these creatures inhabits another person's body, that they begin taking people there to get more of its kind out.
As the way of, like, reproducing more.
Yeah, and ultimately, like, take over the whole town that way, so that, like, passer-throughs get, like, shanghaied and attacked and everything, and then it's just one more body for the demons or whatever
Would
exists.
it be like a hive mind, or would it be individual?
You could go either way. I mean, I would go individual. Like, if it's Dungeons & Dragons, they're probably just demons, but yeah, I mean, you got some options there. But, no, the Night of the Living Dead thing I was going to tell you. So, in the original version, Barbara gets killed when the zombies bust in.
I know.
Cooper gets killed because he goes downstairs and his daughter kills him. And so his daughter and his wife both get killed, or him and his wife both get killed by the daughter, I think, if I remember right. And Ben ultimately gets trapped down there, has to take him out. He survives the night. Next morning, he also finds the gas key again, just like in the other one. Survives the night, comes upstairs because he doesn't hear him walking around anymore. The group is roaming through the countryside, and the main guy's like, "There's one in the house, take him out," and he gets shot. And wow. There's also the subtle possibility that this being the 60s, and there's some statements being made here, like, could have been because he was a black guy, not because they thought he was a zombie. There's a real possibility of that. So yeah, definitely a darker ending. Of course, the original ending to Dawn of the Dead was going to be really dark. Only 2 of the 4 people survive. They take off in the helicopter, but originally, I can't think of Ken Foree's character, he's the black guy, but he was originally going to get eaten by the zombies at the end, and then the woman, realizing she's the last one left at the helicopter, was going to step out and literally just, like, launch herself upwards towards the blades and take herself out. And, like, that was going to be the end of the movie. Yeah. So that no one made it. But George Romero decided, I'll give people a little bit of hope. We'll let 2 of the 4 characters survive. but the helicopter will be low on gas, and the woman's pregnant. So,
yeah, there's going to be a really darker ending of Get Out too, as well. When at the end he goes on a rampage. The main character, the main black guy, who they're trying to replace his brain with their uncle or something. I don't know if they were related to them. And he ends up killing the dad, the brother, and then grandma and grandpa. And he's right in the middle of the street. It's dark outside in the middle of the night. He's right in the middle of the street, and he's got her choking her with his hands, which is his girlfriend. And then, right as he's doing that, he decides not to kill her for whatever reason. And right at that moment, the police comes because he called the police earlier. And what you're thinking right then is like, oh crap, you have a black guy choking a white woman, and there's a bunch of bodies laying in the street. And that's a recipe for disaster. And in the original movie, the police would have arrested him. He would have been in jail for the rest of his life, but he would have been okay knowing that he ended what he ended. But no, the actual ending is his best friend comes, which is the TSA. He was doing like a whole side plot, and that was very humorous part of the movie. It was great. He gets in the car. He's like, "How'd you do this? How'd you know? How'd you find me?" And he says, "Well, son, I am the mother truckin' TSA. We handle things." That's the end of the movie.
Now, I've got some specific examples from late in the Halloween and Friday the 13th series. So Halloween Part 8 is where some people decide we're going to film a reality TV show on Halloween in the Myers house. Knowing that Michael Myers has never been captured, never been killed, and apparently has pretty good TV somewhere, so he knows this is happening, I guess. And he shows up and murders most of them, naturally. So, yeah, like now the guy who's going to put on the show, like at the end, kind of realized, I really screwed up here. Like, apparently Michael Myers like the real deal. Like, I really shouldn't have done this. But in Friday the 13th, Part 10, Jason X. Jason in space. By this point, the government has gotten smart. It's like, well, Jason's killed like 500 people. We should probably capture him, stop this. So they build the Camp Crystal Lake military facility. They capture him. They try every known method to kill him, and it doesn't work. And so they're like, all right, well, we're going Plan B. We're going to use him as a weapon against our enemies, because he's just an unstoppable killing machine. And so the scientist there is like, look, I've got a better idea. Let's freeze him until we can figure out how to destroy him, and then destroy him. Because, like, we cannot control him. And so, naturally, he escapes. Kills the guy that wants to turn him into a military thing, played by David Cronenberg, by the way. And then him and the woman are fighting, and as he's stabbing her, they fall into the cryogenic thing, and they both get frozen.
Oh. Fast
forward a little bit, Earth is completely devastated, and so a group of teenagers and a professor from Earth 2 come in a spaceship to excavate, and they happen to land at the Camp Crystal Lake military facility. They find them. Jason, even in his frozen state, manages to take a guy's arm off, and he falls over, and his machete just cleaves his arm right off.
Crazy.
So they take them both on board, and they're going to thaw the woman out, but they think Jason's just dead because he is a zombie. So he's there, but the problem is he's now at room temperature, so he's just thawing out on his own.
Yeah.
And so they bring the woman back, and the professor's trying to she's trying to warn everybody because she realizes, well, it's the future, and like they probably bought Jason on board. So the professor calls this guy because he's doing all this to make money on the side. So this is most of the stupid part. So he's like, well, these people are pretty old, and the guy's like, yeah, but we've seen people reanimated from a couple of years. It's kind of lost its appeal. And he's like, hey, wait a minute. What'd you say their names were? Says the person, says his name, like Voorhees. It's like, that wouldn't be Jason Voorhees, would it? And the professor's like, yeah, why? He goes, you've never heard of him? He goes, no, why? He goes, he killed like 500 people. Like, he's one of the most prolific mass murderers in history. Like, do you think people pay to see that? He goes, yeah, probably. But by this point, he thaws out and starts murdering people on board the ship.
The one big mistake and stupid decision was ever landing on Crystal Lake in the first place. Mm-hmm. Again, the repetitive massacre. Each time they should have learned from the first time.
So, by the end, they realize they reprogram their robot to go in like combat mode and take him out, which she does. She like blows an arm off and a leg and part of his face, but he then like ends up in the med bay, which they don't realize still has power to it. It's not on, but it still has power to it. It kind of flickers back on, and he's like on the table, and so it's like, you know, reconstruction beginning, and he uses nanites to rebuild the parts of him that are gone. So now he's a cyborg.
Cyborg zombie.
And he defeats the robot. And so then, what in my mind was the scene that makes the entire movie worth it. They have essentially a thing like the holodeck on Star Trek. And so they're running from Jason, they get to the other side, and they turn it on. And they're like, what program did you load? And he's like, I loaded everything I knew about 1980s Camp Crystal Lake. And so Jason comes up, and there's two women there, and they both stand up, take their tops off, and one of them's like, do you want to smoke some pot? And the other one's like, do you want to have premarital sex? And Jason's just looking at him enraged. And then he takes them both in his sleeping bag and starts smashing them up against a tree. And I was like, this is parts 1 through 9, right here in like 30 seconds. Like, these people get it.
Peak Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So, originally, though, it was supposed to be his mom, and to show that he was just like so far to evil that he was going to kill her.
Really?
Yeah. And
wasn't his mom the killer in the first place?
Yes, but she's also the reason why he hates everyone at Camp Crystal Lake, because they killed her. But this was supposed to show that, like, over the years, he's just now just evil incarnate. You know, he doesn't care. So, he ends up, like, they have to separate the sections of the ship. He's on the side that gets blown up, but then the blast is like, he's flying through space to the other, and they're just like, are you fucking kidding me? Because, like, we can't stop this guy. And he's just, like, flying, like, right at him with the machete. And then there's, like, a military guy with him, like, comes out of nowhere and grabs him and pulls him into the New Earth's atmosphere. And he rides him down through the atmosphere. And then the last shot you see is two campers on New Earth at a lake. And you see this thing coming down through the atmosphere. And you hear the you're like, hey, what's that? Hey, it's going to the lake. Let's go check it out. And then you see the metal mask, because it had been replaced with the nanites, sinking down into the lake. He'd been totally burned up in the atmosphere. That was all that was left of him. But still, like, even the campers on New Earth were stupid and like, hey, let's go check this random disturbance over here in the forest.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Fortunately for them, physics saved them. But if there's anything left of Jason, he'll come back. Because in Part 9, he came back after they shot him to death. Then the coroner ate his heart and became possessed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually what happened. I'm not making that up. Go watch the movie. But, yeah, no, there's just like... But I think, you know, looking like a 28 Days Later, I don't think the characters actually make any stupid mistakes. You know, like, Jim doesn't fully grasp what's going on, so he makes a stupid move early on. But he gets it really quickly. And have you seen 28 Days Later?
I have not.
Okay, so then they team up with, then they find these two people alive in an apartment. They go up there. Now, the guy's been doing everything smart. He's drained the water from the toilet, from the tanks, the toilets, because that water should be drinkable. He's got a bunch of buckets up on the roof to collect water, but it hasn't rained in like 10 days. And he even says, like, who would think I'd ever need to worry about rain in London? But, so they're getting low on supplies, but they've been doing everything the smart way to make the supplies last, but they all collectively come to the decision that they cannot stay in the city because it's too dangerous. There's just too many of the infected. So they have to leave. And before they leave, they get a car. Before they leave, they go to a grocery store, load up on stuff. The dad takes an awful lot of alcohol. Like, he literally grabs one and says, oh, you know, all the warmth, but none of the fire, or something like that. Then he takes one bottle, and then another one, and just kind of like, eh. So they leave, and then they have to go through a tunnel. Now, they have no other choice. So they have to go, and it's blocked, and he does something kind of reckless getting over that. That was possibly a stupid move. It pops on the tires, and got to replace it really quickly. But, like, the rest of the way, they're doing the smart thing. There's a radio signal repeating, they're going to it. That might have been, that's their only real mistake, and they couldn't have known that till they got there. But once they got there, they should have left. that was their major mistake. They stick around trying to see if there's anything there when there's clearly not, and they should just leave. Just go find a house out in the countryside and ride things out, which is ultimately what they do. But like that movie, I don't think anyone really made a stupid decision. Unlike the sequel, they made some very stupid decisions, like trying to resettle England. Like,
Is that 28 years later?
28 weeks later.
That's weeks.
Because they realized the infected should all be dead. And they're mostly right. And they're like, well, this is some pretty developed real estate. There's billions of dollars worth of money just sitting right here. Let's go back in. And they even have a plan in case everything goes bad. They're just going to firebomb everything and kill everybody. I don't know if they told everybody that, by the way, but that's the plan. And it all goes awry whenever they find a survivor who's a carrier, but she's immune. And the stupid part is they should have never given her husband a job because he's an idiot. And they gave him, like, keys to get basically anywhere in the facility. And so he goes to where his wife is and kisses her. The virus is transmitted by bodily fluids. So he gets infected. Rages out and kills her, which is uncharacteristic. Which also destroyed any chance of a cure. And then he starts just infecting other people. And then they start killing everybody, which again, understandable, but also stupid because you can tell when people are infected. It takes less than a minute for them to turn. So if they're talking to you for a minute, they're fine. So there was no reason that they couldn't let people out that weren't infected. And that's why they flamethrower Jeremy Renner, because, he's in the zone, even though he's one of their guys. Idris Elba did not feel bad about that. So, so that one had lots of stupid things happening. And I think there would have been better ways to do things
and prevent all of that,
and not have the stupid to have that happen. I know it's not a movie, but I can't think which the game is off the top of my head. It's a zombie video game. It's not Resident Evil, but
Last of Us?
No. And it's probably not gonna come to me either. But there's like a character that like their dog winds up outside or something, and so they open up the doors to. So they like open up the doors and push all the zombies in. And you have that in some other things where like you'll have a character that just like that opens the doors or something like that. That happens in Day of the Dead. Now that character's doing it intentionally. They're wanting to kill everybody. It's a guy that got bit. They cut his arm off in the hopes it would stop the infection, but he still has a fever, so maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But he ultimately goes up to the surface, opens the gates to let all the zombies in and onto the elevator that's going to take him down. And then once he's swarmed, he hits the button to bring the elevator down and brings a bunch of them into the base, which leads to everyone in there that didn't like getting killed, and miraculously everybody did like survived. So kind of funny how that worked out. One of the more hopeful Romero endings. But yeah, I've seen a non-horror movie example of this. It was actually just on the other night. That was the movie Roadhouse. Now, it's an okay movie, but throughout the entire movie, I'm sitting there thinking, I didn't quite catch where exactly the movie took place, so I don't know off the top of my head. But all the characters in it are good old boys who I know have guns. Why do they let this rich prick control everything? The guy goes out into the public. He has a couple of guys with him that fight barehanded. If you have guns, you shoot them. This guy is destroying people's property and their lives. And he's just an arrogant dickhead. Like, or you just shoot the guys around and beat him to death because he's a shrimp that, is going to fold like a wet noodle. Like, he has no fighting prowess of his own or anything. And what makes it worse is, like, that's what happens at the end of the movie. Like, Patrick Swayze goes in and kills most of the goons with his bare hands. He's going to kill this guy, decides not to, and he gets up with a gun and all the other good old boys show up and shoot him. Like, they were clearly intending on doing that. It's like, why don't you just do this, like, at the beginning part of the movie? Like, What are the cops going to do? The cops that are on his payroll. He has no heirs. There's no more money coming. They're going to be like, oh, we're going to arrest you guys. Because at the end of the movie, it was good enough for them to sit there with guns, being like, yeah, I don't know what happened. We didn't see anything. And there's dead bodies everywhere. And the cops are just like, well, I guess we can't do anything. It's like, you should have just done this in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Like, what were you waiting on? But that's kind of my problem with some westerns too. Is like, you've got like one guy that in and of himself, he's not a good gunslinger or anything. He's got a couple guys working for him, but it's the Old West. Everyone else also has guns. Like, why are you letting this guy control you? Like, just get like 2 or 3 other guys and start shooting. Like, or hire your own hired gun to go shoot them. Now, I have seen westerns where they tried that. It doesn't work because the guy they're after is an actual gunslinger. But that's a different scenario. That's like in The Quick and the Dead. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I think too many horror movies rely on this, and they could be better. Because like coming back to the video I mentioned, the layout this guy had, he's would have made still for an interesting movie. Now the problem with a zombie movie being like that is that means less people die, and well, we don't come to zombie movies to watch everyone survive. Like, we come to zombie movies to see people be torn apart. So someone has to do something stupid at some point, or get really unlucky. So yeah, I think it might be counterproductive in some movies. It's similar to slasher movies. They don't come to those to watch people survive. In fact, I have an anecdote related to this. For the movie The 13th Ghost. Ever see it?
No.
Alright. So, in the movie, you have F. Murray Abraham's character is trying to open up, the Eye of Hell, so that he can become all-knowing or something like that. So to this end, he has built a house that is a machine, like the Infernus Arcanum or something like that, I don't know. And there are certain ghosts trapped within it that fulfill what he needs to open this thing up.
13.
Well, it's 12, going to make the 13th one. So he appears to die towards the beginning of the movie. And as the movie progresses, like halfway through, it occurred to me that there was only a handful of people in the house. I was like, there's the dad, there's the 2 kids, and there's the nanny. And then there's like 2 other randos that show up. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, wait a minute, we've only got 6 people here. Only 3 of these people are expendable, because there's no way they're going to kill the kids.
Yeah.
And probably not going to kill the dad. So that just leaves the nanny, who, not to get racial here, but she was a black woman in a horror movie. I definitely expected her to die. The surprise was she didn't. That's the 2 randos. Well, the 2 randos die. But I'm sitting like, we're only going to have like 5 people die in this movie. Like, I am wasting my time here. So,
depends on how you execute it.
So it turned out F. Murray Abraham wasn't dead. Then he got dead at the end. But the whole deal was like, he was trying to lure the dad, who was his nephew, I think, into sacrificing himself for the kids. That would create the 13th ghost, which is the one he needed. That was the hard one to get.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, it's an okay movie, but once I realized that, it's like, nope. This is going to have a very low body count.
Well, I think with a lot of movies, it can either be you're stupid, you're smart, and you can be smart and die, and just the odds are against your favor, which happens a lot in dystopian movies and Hunger Games.
Yeah, there's like Captain Picard said one episode of The Next Generation, Commander Data, there's some kind of war game scenario, and he's trying to tell Data, he's like, I need your help, and he's like, well, sir, but I didn't win this, and he's like, Data, you can make every move correctly and not make a single mistake and still lose. And Data's like, he's like, that's life. So, but yeah, you definitely have smart characters that, hell, even 13th Ghost. One of the expendable characters, is working for F. Murray Abraham's character, and did everything she was supposed to, didn't realize he planned on double-crossing her. And, he definitely killed her. And there was no real sign of it that I recall that he was going to do that either. So it just kind of came out of the blue. Unlike other movies where you're like, oh, yeah, if these people don't get double-crossed, it's going to be a miracle. Like in Command & Conquer Red Alert 3, where Tim Curry plays one of the Russian guys. And it literally, I've seen a meme online, so it was a picture, it was this is Tim Curry, he plays this character. If you didn't expect him to double-cross you, you got what you deserved. But, yeah, but there's other, other zombie movies, like Return of the Living Dead. That one is entirely fueled by stupidity at the beginning of the movie.
That's the one I've seen.
Maybe it's when they open up the barrel down in the basement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that being the stupid part, by the way. every other problem flows from that. You know, like once that happened, then once they let the zombie out and had to hack him into pieces and then burn him, that's what literally fueled every other problem. But what they should have done at that point was call the number on the side of the tank. But they didn't, because Bert didn't want to lose his business. So, because of that,
Agreed.
downtown Louisville got nuked back in the 80s, in case you folks didn't hear about that. 1984 to be exact. July 4th weekend. Rest in peace. But, well, you saw the intro to the movie, Levi. All the names and faces have not been changed to protect you when the following events are all factual. But now, like Return of the Living Dead 3, it's fueled by stupidity. They finally get all the barrels and all the zombies and everything in one place. And there's two groups within the government. One's like, hey, let's destroy them while we can. And the other is, let's turn them into weapons because they're unstoppable. And well, they start turning them into weapons. But like, the guy that's all for like, let's destroy them, his kid like finds out what's happening there. He's like, gets his girlfriend like, hey, let's go check it out. And I think they go check it out, then leave, and then they're riding on a motorcycle and like he hits something, she goes flying off and breaks her neck. And he's like, well, you know, it's kind of handy that I know that there's this stuff that can bring her back to life. So he goes and does, and you know, she becomes a zombie. But this is Return of the Living Dead. She can still think, she can still talk, but as the movie progresses, she becomes more and more hungry and starts biting people. They become zombies, so you got like zombie gangbangers after him. Then this homeless guy tries to help him. She eats him, and he becomes a zombie. Then the government finally shows up and rounds both the zombies. And the kid's like, well, wait, like, what are you gonna do with my girlfriend? Like, she's still, you know, mostly there. You just gotta, you know, feed her every once in a while. And they're like, well, she's going to the program. He's like, oh, you can't have that. So he sets them all loose, and then he gets bit, and he's like, well, no going back. So him and her climb into the incinerator and turn it on full blast.
Yeah.
And then there's part 4 and 5, which is really awful. Like in 4, they find some more of these barrels that've been hidden in Chernobyl, so they don't want to find them.
Mm-hmm.
And so this guy brings them back, and it's like, all right, remember that plan to turn them into weapons from the last movie? We're going full forward with that. So he turns the 2 of them into weapons. And they've got like machine guns and stuff on them. Then the 5th one, the same actors play different characters, except for a couple of the characters who play the same characters. It gets very confusing, and they come across this stuff and like, hey, what if we use this as a drug? And so they make a rave drug with it, and that's why that one is Rave to the Grave. And by the time they get to the end, like a bunch of people at the rave turn into zombies, and then some Russian guys show up from the 4th movie who are trying to find the barrels that got out of Chernobyl. They call it an airstrike and blow it all up at the end. Yeah, 4 and 5 are just bad. But yeah, so I mean, I think most horror movies would be improved, but I think some just won't work. You know,
they specifically rely on someone making a mistake for the plot to even happen.
Yeah, making a mistake
or
making the kind of decision that a sane person wouldn't make.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen Sinister?
Have not.
Oh, you're missing out on that one. A lot of good movies in that. For those of you that know, have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about.
No spoilers.
But yeah, no spoilers. Excellent home movies. So Ethan Hawke's character is a like crime writer, and so he moves into this house where some murders occurred, and he's going to write some stuff. But like, as I was watching the movie, I'm sitting there like, even during the day, the lights are off inside this house, and I'm just like, do you people, have you not paid the electrical bill? Why are you sitting in the dark, in the middle of the day? And so then, like, at one point, he's walking through the house, he hears these noises, and there's, like, a bunch of, like, children, but you don't know if they're real or not. And it's dark the whole time, because he won't turn on the light, but he's also drinking. And so, like, the movie leads you to believe, like, maybe he is just hallucinating. And it's really not until the final part of the movie that you know whether or not it's all happening. And so it's like, that part was well done, but, like, the whole... Like, I hear something in the house at night. My goal is not to sneak up on the thing. My goal is to find the thing, see the thing, possibly shoot the thing. Like, for that I need light.
Yes.
Like, I don't just walk through the dark house, like, maybe I'll surprise him. Like, no, I'm not a ninja. Like, You know, what am I going to do if it's the Mothman? Like, what's me surprising is not going to help. You know, or a Yeti or something. Like, you know, we're hearing something. Maybe it's Bigfoot. You know, I don't know. Maybe the Jersey Devil took a vacation. He's here for some reason. Like, me sneaking up on it is not going to help. Like, if it's Michael Myers, like, oh, I got you. Like, no, I won't. Like, he's probably just going to kill me in a more horrific way that way. You know, admittedly, seeing him in the light is also not going to help. Like, once I can get to the door and get the hell out of there.
It'll help you, though, to know where they are.
It might help me to get out. But yeah, so it's an otherwise good movie. But it's like, and you can tell it's maybe people that like horror movies, but it was one of those just like, I was sitting there in the theater like, do you not know what a goddamn light switch is?
And that's one of the reasons they don't turn on the light, because it's dark outside. Is why people trip so many times.
Yeah.
Which, do you consider that a dumb decision, or
What?
tripping? Because they always trip in horror movies.
No, and that actually happened in one of the Romero zombie movies, Diary of the Dead. These kids are out in the woods filming a horror movie when the broadcast goes over the radio of, you know, the world is turned upside down, the dead are coming back to life, and so like, well, we got to go back to the school. So they go back there. One of the more humorous moments in the movies at this point. There's a guy there in the women's dorm, like, they come in there because one of the guy's girlfriends is there, and they're filming, and they're like, what are you doing here? He goes, well, what am I doing here? I'm stealing shit. What are you doing here? He's like, what are you pervs doing here with this camera? Look at these guys. He just starts yelling. He's like, these pervs are just running out with the TV. So towards the end of the movie, there's a zombie chasing one of the characters, and she was supposed to be like the damsel in distress in the movie. And one guy's just become obsessed with filming this, so he's just filming. He's not helping her at all, and she's like, "Help me, God damn it!" You know. And she trips over a log. And she's like, "I'm gonna fucking die because I tripped over a log for your stupid fucking movie." And just going on and on and on. And she gets up and she takes out, you know, brains the zombie, and she's like, "Is that what you wanted?" It's like, "I'm getting out of here." So she takes the Winnebago and leaves. But yeah, now, the other great part's when they come across the Amish guy. They're trying to find somewhere because they got to fix the fuel onto their RV. So they pull in, and this Amish guy like comes around a corner. He's like, and they're like, it's one of them. And they're like, no, hold on. He's like, right, sitting on the board. He's like, he holds up a board. He can't speak and he's deaf. And then he's like, friends of yours? And there's a bunch of zombies back behind him. Then they turn around. He's going to stick a dynamite, takes him out. Yeah. But yeah, that was just great. They're like, oh, it's one of them. No, it's not. But yeah, so like. I think it's up there with like how we're starting to see more horror movies set before the late 90s for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
You know what that reason is?
What?
Cell phones make horror movies just a little bit harder to actually have, you know, because like look at well, even Scream is at the dawn of people having cell phones, and that's actually integral to the plot. But the fact not everyone has a cell phone, so everyone can't be calling it in, like, hey, Ghostface is over here, you know, whatever. But speaking of Scream, that's one where I actually feel that most of the characters make reasonable decisions. Because number one, they don't realize they're in a slasher movie, except for our main group. And even there, most of them are like, what are you talking about? It's a serial killer, like, you know. But, no, because, like, some of the arguments you'll see will be like, well, why doesn't everyone have a gun? Well, first of all, they're in California. But second of all, they're teenagers. Like, I know some people overseas might have commentary about our school system and what you may or may not encounter while being in your school system, but it is actually difficult for teenagers to get a hold of guns sometimes here in the U.S. And they're not supposed to bring them to the school. So, like, that is kind of an issue. And if you pay attention to all the movies, by the third movie, most of the characters have rectified this issue and are in fact carrying guns at that point. You know, it's just the killer's a little bit better until Sidney shoots him, you know, with said gun. But yeah, like by the third movie, Cindy's like, fuck all you guys, I'm living out here in the middle of the country. You can't come get me. Like, I'm out here. Screw you guys. Like, the characters actually, like, you know, they do anticipate things. They do think about, well, this happened before, so what are we going to do now? You know, the character's copying this, so they're probably going to do this, wish we'd do this. You know, these are not, generally speaking, these are not dumb people. And so I think the series works because of that. I think the series really works because it takes advantage of it. Because, like, between Scream 1 and 2, caller ID basically didn't exist before Scream 1 in any real numbers. It was the driving factor in a lot of people getting caller ID. So by Scream 2, caller ID was a thing, you know. And by Scream 3, obviously because you're using cell phones, caller ID is also a thing. So we're back to cloning cell numbers, which you mentioned in the first movie. So there is a case of both the killer and the potential victims are actually paying attention to what's happened, and I think it's a better series because of it. So,
I agree.
So yeah, I mean, overall, I think some movies they just don't work without the idiot plot. But I think they're lesser for it for a lot of them. You know, sometimes it works. I mean, like in the slasher movies, you know, like I said, I don't usually watch them to watch intelligent people survive. I watch them to watch dumb people get killed. So, you know, because that's kind of a key factor is that people do have to die. Otherwise, what are we doing here? You know, but you know, because like the Scream movies again, plenty of people get killed, but usually not because they made a dumb mistake. You know, like even Sydney in the first movie comments like, "Oh yeah, no, horror movies are all the same." You know, some dumb girl runs up the stairs and should go out the front door, and then 2 minutes later she's running up the stairs because she locked the front door to keep the killer out, but the killer was inside the house, and so her only route was up the stairs.
Yeah.
So it's not that she made a dumb move; it's that, you know, she made all the logical moves she should have made.
Circumstantial.
You know. So yeah.
Tatum, however, Sydney's friend.
Yeah. Which part? The not thinking that was actually the killer part?
Yeah, the whole part. The not thinking it was the actual killer part. Letting them lock the door. You know, getting them to the ground and not beating them or taking advantage of them being on the ground and being hurt, and instead running away to the other side of the garage. Or just, the garage is small. Like,
Yeah.
where else are you gonna go?
To try to get out the tiny door.
Out the,
Which, by the way, those garage door openers are not strong enough to do that. Like, it would not have killed her. Like, it'll like hit her head and that'd been about it. Now, the killer, they would have come up and stabbed her probably. But,
which would probably be more horrific, but
yeah. But, yeah.
it always bothered me because I feel like Tatum's death was so preventable.
Yeah. Probably.
Her death and the whole throwing a party thing. But the throwing a party thing was one of the killer's ideas, Stu Macher's.
Right.
So it was smart of them.
Yeah, and again, like, you can see the logic behind the other characters. Thinking like, well, we'll all be together,
Yeah.
like, until everyone decided to go see Principal Hembry strung up from the goalpost.
Now that was a dumb decision.
Had to get there before they took him down. I guess he wasn't a popular principal. You know, because you'd think like, oh man, the principal's dead. Like, no, it's like, no, we got to see this. Let's go. They were also drunk though, so.
Yeah.
But and all that right after Randy got done telling them the rules. But yeah.
R.I.P. Randy.
I would say that I don't think Randy's death was overly avoidable because he could have never guessed the person was hiding in the van. You know, that would have been a hard thing to guess, and like circumstances really paid off there.
Yeah.
Because if the guys wouldn't have been walking by with the boombox, like someone would have heard something. You know, someone should have seen the van rocking back and forth and the blood dripping out of it eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. And then I guess you've got the second movie. Where is it? Is it Billy? Is he the other killer?
In the second movie?
Yeah, his name, Timothy Olyphant's character. What's his name?
I don't remember.
Well, anyway, how he knows just what to say to Sydney at the one point, where he's like, you know, Billy's a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, why did Billy go back in the house? You know, kind of makes you wonder. You know, because he knows that Sydney already has trust issues because her last boyfriend was a psychopathic killer, and now that is a questionable thing for him to do, and then he miraculously doesn't get seriously injured. Like, it makes sense for her to suspect him at that point.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a stupid thing, you know. So, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other horror movies off the top of my head that are just like purely the idiot ball in play. But, well, I suppose you could say that The Stand is entirely because one guy was like, screw protocol, I'm getting out of here, and then takes the virus halfway across the country and kills 99% of the human race as a result.
Well, I think, did they create the virus or?
Yeah, we created the virus.
That was the mistake there.
Well, yeah, that was the other mistake, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there are plenty of other horror movies that have this flaw, but
Just movies in general too.
yeah, just maybe the general, because I mentioned Roadhouse, I've heard people, I've heard The Big Bang Theory make the case that like the original Indiana Jones movie, that everything would have still happened whether or not Jones was involved or not, and because if he's not, the Nazis would have gotten a hold of the headpiece from Marion because he stopped them from getting a hold of it. So they presumably would have eventually found the room, because I don't remember how Indy found it and they didn't, but presumably they would have eventually found it because Jones found it.
Yeah.
And once they do, then they would know the staff was the right height. No, they already found the mapper. He found where the vault was because of the right staff height, which they would have known because they would have had the whole headpiece. Then they would have taken it, and then presumably Belloc still would have wanted to open it just to see, which would have killed all the Nazis.
Yeah.
And it'd be sitting there on whatever island that was. So other than the U.S. ending up with the Ark, then yeah, the rest of the movie possibly would have happened exactly the same way, whether Jones is involved or not. Which is definitely a take, but yeah. I'm hard pressed to think of any other movies where it's just like really extreme. Like I know I've seen some that like, yeah. Should have come up with a non-horror example before I started recording this, I guess. Other than Roadhouse.
Squid Game.
Well, I don't know. Where's his mistake? Other than
voting back to the games.
Other than going back, yeah. Yeah, that was a mistake. But
It's like an 83% return rate. Stupid.
yeah, the only thing is, I get it. Because let's say you survive that. You've got all this money. But at your core, you're a good person. Are you really just going to be able to live with the fact you know that's happening? Like, I don't know what you do. I don't think going back to the game was the solution.
Yeah.
But, like, I get why he did what he did at the end. You know, like, especially once he realized that, like, he wasn't going to stop anything. But, like, you know, this is one of those things where, like, the problem is that there's a season 2. Okay? Because, I mean, just, you know, think about how many movies where, okay, like, let's take the Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Alright? So, the first movie.
I've not watched the sequel to the first Ghostbusters, by the way.
You've never seen Ghostbusters 2?
Never have. It's in Ghostbusters 3.
Well, alright. So, okay, first Ghostbusters movie. The Ghostbusters save New York. Everyone sees some pretty weird things before it's all over with. Now, if those things don't recur, like, you're sitting there like, I've seen some shit, man, you know? And, like, you literally, like, took out a god. And then, eventually, over a long enough timeline, there's going to be people that are going to call you a fake and a fraud. You know these things happen.
Yeah.
And yet, like, and you did all this stuff, and let's say it actually does take the path of the sequel, where the city ends up not paying them, and then they get sued, because no one believes them, even though it's on TV what happened. And so, you know, like, you like that's a downer ending. Like, you know, that's approach some of the Gundam series. Characters save the universe and get turned into a freaking vegetable.
Gundam style?
No, I mean, so. But, you know, just, so movies like that, where characters go through this extraordinary event, but then you know that, like, reality is going to catch up to them.
Yeah.
Like again, like From Dusk Till Dawn, like I mentioned earlier. 2 people survived that movie. Like, the girl whose family is now dead, because he got killed by the vampires, and George Clooney, whose brother is dead, killed by the vampires. But he's also still a wanted man. Like, is he just going to drift off into Mexico? Like, that's the implication. And she's just going to go with him? Like, whatever plans she had for life, they're gone, you know?
Yeah.
She's just going to go with this guy that she only really knows from a bar from one night, who was kind of halfway decent, kind of, you know, but still a known criminal. And, like, they know that vampires are real. And presumably that wasn't all of them. Like, what are the odds that that was all of them? There's got to be more of them out there somewhere.
Yeah.
You're just going to go the rest of your life with that knowledge and do nothing about it? You're looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life in case they know you killed their friends?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have friends? Like, you know, that's going to literally haunt you forever. You know? And like, so you got movie endings like that. Where ones were like, well, we solved the problem, but like there's a bunch of bodies laying around. Like the police are probably gonna have something to say about this. We're like, oh, you saved the day, but you destroyed your life in the process.
Yeah. Or ended it.
Or like The Thing.
I finished watching The Thing.
Oh, well, I'm not going to tell you what happens at the end of that.
I've heard it's outstanding.
It is. I have no idea how people didn't appreciate that movie back in the 80s. Like, it was not considered a good movie then.
Really?
Now everyone understands the horror masterpiece. But yeah, well, same thing with Blade Runner. People were fools. Like, they didn't appreciate what they were seeing. And it took other people explaining it to them, like, oh, now I get it. Now maybe you could fault the filmmakers for that, but I don't think so. I don't think movies should be done now. Like, people should be able to get them, but like, if you've got to work for it a little bit, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just don't expect commercial success because the masses won't get it.
Yeah.
20 years from now, they'll call you a visionary, but for now, you're just that guy that made that flop. Unless you're John Carpenter, he'd already made Halloween. Like, he showed that he did not make flops. Halloween made all kinds of money. That's why it has all the knockoffs. Like Friday the 13th is literally a knockoff. Literally Paramount, I think it was Paramount at the time owned it. They were like, how did this movie work? How can we copy it?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, so they kind of got some ideas. And they're like, well, we can't call it after a holiday because a lot of them are taken by other movies. So let's go for a specific day. Friday the 13th.
Crazy.
And so, yeah, that's how it was born. I think Nightmare on Elm Street had a similar background. What's funny is, like, Halloween's not the original slasher. I think it's like The Town That Dreaded Sundown, or one of those. But even there, even if it's not that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out 4 years before it. 5 years before it, 1974.
Town That Dreaded Sundown?
No, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh.
That movie, that was a front for money laundering. Like, for a long time, no one had any idea how much money that movie actually made. It made a lot more than people thought it did. The sequel's great, though. Dennis Hopper running around high on cocaine, fighting people with chainsaws. Excellent. I don't mean his character in the movie. I mean him, the actor, while filming the movie. Oh yeah, Levi. Anything between Apocalypse Now and like 2010, like the year 2010, not the movie, it's a virtual guarantee that he is on cocaine in the movie. Yeah, like a lot of his movies he's on cocaine. Like that's a fact. That's not me casting aspersions. Like that's the genuine article. Or if you watch Heat, Al Pacino, he's on coke through the whole thing. I saw an interview where he was talking about that. He's like, yeah, I'm a little more overboard in that movie than I usually am.
Well, just like Randy said, drinking and drugs are a recipe for dying and yourself killed, which could be, more stupid mistakes that you make in a horror movie.
Yeah.
Or any movie.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of any more extreme examples, Levi. I'm kind of drawing a blank here.
I haven't seen as many of the extreme examples. I like more of competent characters in competent movies.
I mean, like I've seen characters like intentionally walk into a scenario that they're not going to walk out of. Like in Hell of the Living Dead, the end of the movie, which by the way, this movie's got like 8 million different titles because it's a foreign movie. That's the one I know it by. A third of the movie is just wildlife stock footage. I'm dead serious. But at the end of the movie, they finally get to the chemical plant where the stuff is coming from that's making the zombies. And they go into the facility, and like there's 2 characters left that just keep descending deeper and deeper into the facility to no apparent cause as the woman's monologuing, and then they get surrounded by zombies and get torn apart. In fact, probably the most gruesome death I've ever seen in a movie is in that scene right there. And I'm not even going to describe it. It was over the top. Not to be confused with the Stallone arm wrestling movie Over the Top. Yes, there's a Sylvester Stallone arm wrestling and I think trucker movie called Over the Top.
It's a little over the top.
It is. But I've only watched it like once or twice. It was so stupid. From what I remember, for all I know, it's a masterpiece, but I don't think so.
You know what else is stupid? Hobo with the shotgun.
You've never seen it.
Just the content is it's wild.
Yeah, well, watch the trailer sometime on YouTube, like the original trailer. Actually, shouldn't watch either one, but so for those of you that don't know, there were 2 movies released several years ago. They were called the Grindhouse movies collectively. One of them was Planet Terror, the other one was Death Proof. And some theaters ran them together like they were supposed to, and between them there were trailers for fake movies. But at the very beginning of Planet Terror was the trailer for Machete. It was like 8 years before the movie actually got made. Danny Trejo was even on record. He was talking about it in an interview one time. He was like, "Robert, didn't we already make this movie?" Talking to Robert Rodriguez, like, "No, Danny, that was just the trailer. We're gonna actually make the movie." And I was like, "Don't we usually do it the other way around?" So, almost all the footage from the trailer is actually in the movie too, which is impressive. Like they got almost all the same actors back and everything.
Really?
Yeah, and like a couple of them like real actors. Real actors. So then there was Planet Terror played. And there were 3 trailers in between here in the U.S. One was called Don't, which was supposed to be like a send-off of like demonic possession, psychic, haunted house movies from like the 60s and 70s, movies like The Legend of Hell House, movies like that. I'll have to watch that someday. It's a British movie. Guy wins at the end by cussing out this guy and calling his mom a whore. But I'm serious. So that one's it's a whole bunch of like, you're thinking about going into the basement, don't, and just like keeps escalating until finally gets in, like, you're thinking about going to watch this movie alone, don't, and like that's across the screen. Then there was Thanksgiving, which actually was eventually made into a movie. Now, unlike Machete, that one, none of the scenes in the trailer are in the movie. I think it's a couple similar scenes. But the trailer is worse than the actual movie that got made, like the scenes that are in it. But like Michael Biehn, he's in it, he plays the sheriff. There's a point where this guy, dressed up as a pilgrim guy, comes out in the middle of the parade and uses an axe, just swings and takes the head off the guy that's dressed up as the turkey. And then just in the confusion, just walks out. And so then you see Michael Biehn investigate the crime scene. He was like, tests it, and I guess like it's blood. Michael Bihn's like, son of a bitch. It's just so over the top. But like the death scenes are they're over the top. But Eli Roth directed the trailer and then ultimately directed the movie. And then there was the one that Rob Zombie directed, She-Wolf Women of the SS.
Oh no.
Which is about a secret Nazi plot to create werewolf women to try to turn the tide of the war. This one actually had several real actors in it, including the surprise guest appearance at the end, Nicolas Cage as Dr. Fu Manchu. And he shows up, he's got like this giant Fu Manchu mustache and this big like flowing Chinese robe, and he's just like, it's actually Nicolas Cage. It's like, holy shit. I'm still pulling for Rob Zombie to actually make that movie. I hope he does someday, with Nicolas Cage. But in Canada, there was a contest to make a fake trailer to put into the movies, and the one that won was Hobo with a Shotgun. And so it's this guy, he's a hobo, who's in this town that's totally corrupt, and so he takes a shotgun and starts taking justice into his own hands. And the final part of the movie, the final part of the trailer is like, we're on a bus ride to hell, and you're riding a shotgun. And that's where the trailer ends. So the actual movie that got made is this over-the-top, violent, spectacular, and Rutger Hauer plays the main guy, so the guy from the trailer. But the guy from the trailer is in the movie at one point, because there's a point where this cop's like they're coming after all the cops, and the one guy's like, no, they're only coming after corrupt cops, and that guy jumps out of nowhere and he's like, but we're all corrupt cops. And it ends with like Rutger Hauer has, I think it's the main drug dealer at gunpoint. Then the cops are surrounding him, and then I think the civilians are surrounding the cops. And the guy's like, well, what are you going to do? And Rutger Hauer, like slow, like real actor mode, is like, it's like, well, we're taking a bus ride to hell, and you're riding shotgun. And it fades to black, and as it blows him away, as everything pops off, and that's how the movie ends.
Wow.
And I was just like, yes.
Cinema.
True cinema right here. Rutger Hauer, the man who has one of the greatest monologues in movie history, is somehow in this movie. It's from Blade Runner, by the way, the monologue. It says he's dying at the end of the movie. He's a replicant. They're like, it's unclear if they're machines or clones or exactly what they are. The sequel makes it more clear that they're some kind of clones, but they're enhanced. They're stronger and faster, but they have an unnaturally short lifespan to make sure they can control them. So he's got Harrison Ford's character, and he was dangling from a ledge, and he'd been chasing him with the intent to kill him. And the last moment, he pulls him up, And Harrison Ford's like, can't figure out why he saved him. And he's just like, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe, and starts talking about all these things, And he's like, all those memories, and it's raining, he's like, all those memories will be lost, like tears in the rain. And he's like, time to die, and just...
Well, that's depressing.
Yeah, but like, he came up with most of it, like, he wrote most of that. Like, Ridley Scott didn't write that, the writers didn't write that. Like, Rutger Hauer came up with that. And like, shared it with Ridley Scott, and Ridley Scott's like, let's go with that. Because like, it's really good. You should definitely watch the movie sometime. There are like 4 different versions.
Yeah.
You probably don't want the one that has the like the voiceover. It's like the 1930s detective voiceover by Harrison Ford that a lot of people for the longest time claimed he intentionally screwed up because he thought it was a dumb idea. But he finally had an interview one day. He's like, "Why would I do that? Like, they paid me money for that. Like, I'm not going to intentionally screw it up. Like, that's how they wanted it to sound. That's how I made it sound. Like,
Yeah.
But you're going to want to watch that version at some point because it explains a lot of things. So, yeah, no idiot ball in that movie. Yeah, Levi, I think we're pretty far afield here, so
I agree.
should probably go ahead and wrap this one up. So, if you folks can think of any movies that you've seen that just rely entirely on the idiot ball plot to actually work, let us know down in the comments. Maybe we'll talk about them later. If there are movies that you think that, like, do you think horror movies in general would be enhanced by smarter protagonists? Or do you think it would detract from them and get us to a point where we're not seeing as many people killed in the movie? Where they'd have to come up with some bizarre, generic scenario. Like with zombie movies, you can still have background characters get killed, I suppose. Like, there'd be the scenes like mass carnage here and there. That you could do. Or have people get killed for other reasons, like interpersonal conflict, which in and of itself is also stupid in the face of the zombie apocalypse, but at least it's not people being overtly stupid in other ways.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got anything like that, let us know down in the comments. Want to see Levi in more of these videos, let me know so I can let him know. But yeah, other than that, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sharing and commenting help us grow the channel. We always appreciate that. Subscribing, name of the game here on YouTube, and thank you for everyone that helped us get over the 500 subscriber hump here recently. And hopefully you'll stick around for more. But yeah, I think that's all we've got. So, I'm gonna send this out with a question.
What's your favorite scary movie?